everyone, welcome to the Comic Gamer Movie Show. My name is Deshaun, and today I'm here to give you my thoughts on the Mandalorian Chapter 6, The Prisoners. Now, The Mandalorian, so far as I'm concerned, has been a very solid show. It's been a very great show. I've had a blast with it. I will admit that the last episode of The Mandalorian was probably the lowest, but to me, it's the lowest on a scale of, like, I've enjoyed every episode. You know, like, this, like, I have seen some people push back against The Mandalorian, and I might get into that in a little bit later, but for now, I'm going to just talk about this episode. Now, as far as you guys know, I've enjoyed The Mandalorian so far. I've had a blast watching it. It's one of the bright spots of my, you know, when I wake up in the morning, I'm just like, Mandalorian Day. So, like, when I wake up on a Friday, I'm like, oh, Mandalorian Day. Get to watch Mandalorian, and, like, everyone reviews it. Like, it's one of the few things, honestly, it's one of the few things where when I go on YouTube, or I go on Twitter, or I go on Instagram, it's immediately stuff posted up about what just happened. It's stuff posted up about what came out. There are dozens of videos about each individual episode. And I don't remember a lot, and, like, there's not a lot of shows like that, other than Game of Thrones. There hasn't really been a show like that in a while where, like, literally everyone is reviewing this show. Everyone is reviewing this show on a individual by individual basis. You know, on an individual episode by individual episode basis. Never has that really applied more to a show. It's about, at this point, this is episode 6. This one's directed by Rick Famuyiwa as well. You'll remember Rick Famuyiwa directed episode 2. And he's back. And episode 2 is some of people's favorite episodes, but he's back to direct this one. I gotta say, all in all, this has to be in my top. This is one of my favorite episodes. I don't know. I'm stuck between episodes 3 and this one. It's either gonna be episode 3, this one, and then episode 4, or maybe 2. I don't know. But this one is up there. It's nudging towards the top. I gotta admit, I had a blast with this episode. This episode was whatever. If the last episode 5 was the lowest, this one is, like, up there. It is up there. First of all, there are so many cameos in this. Some you might know. Some you might know. Some you wouldn't know. For instance, Bill Burr is in this episode. Yes, that Bill Burr. If you know who Bill Burr is, you know that Bill Burr is notoriously makes fun of Star Wars and thinks that the whole thing is ridiculous because, and you know, he explained it actually in a nice way of just saying that I was too old once that Star Wars hit, like, I was too old for it. Like, I was a little older when it hit, but when it hit, when it hit pop culture, the zeitgeist, But Bill Burr is in this. Clancy Brown is in this. I didn't even know that was Clancy Brown until afterwards. And if you don't know who Clancy Brown is, you're not a nerd. Clancy Brown has voiced basically has voiced dozens of characters in dozens of things. And most notoriously, he voiced Lex Luthor and the entire, pretty much in both the Superman series, the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. He's voiced tons of characters. He was a villain in The Punisher. He was one of the big villains of, he was a villain to The Punisher in Daredevil Season 2. Clancy Brown has been all over. He's been working in this business for a long time. He's a very well-known actor. He's a very well-known voice. There's so many actors. There's so many cameos. There's so many actors that you wouldn't think you see in this. Once again, it follows the Western / tropey / just like genre trend of this episode is more of a Dirty Dozen. It's more of a Dirty Dozen. A bunch of people working, like a bunch of scumbag criminals working to do something. But to even set it up a bit, this episode is another episode where the Mandalorian is low on cash and has to do jobs and have to go places and do jobs that he wouldn't really rather not do. So he goes back to an old friend. This episode, you get to learn a little bit more about the Mandalorian's past. You learn that not only was he might have been a bit more darker of a man. He might have been a bit more brutal in the past. He might have done a bit more scary things in the past. And in fact, he had a relationship with this Twi'lek. I always say that word wrong. Is it Twi'lek or is it Twi'lek? the chicks with the long things, the long freaking things to go down and back, like not Ahsoka, not that one, but Twi'lek. I always say the name wrong, but he seemed to get a relationship with her, and they heavily hint that they were banging, like they heavily hint that the Mandalorian and her didn't just have a relationship, they had a relationship, like they don't say it, but this, and it's very important, by the way, to point out, this is the only episode that's TV-14. And like I said, just for reference, if you want to know what TV-14 is, TV-14 is supernatural and things of that nature. Supernatural and certain things, even certain episodes of Stranger Things and Daredevil. That's TV-14 violence. So like, this episode was TV, and I could see why, because there was a little bit more swearing in this episode, especially coming from Bill Burr. There's a little bit more swearing. It was a little bit more violent than the other episodes. It was a bit more violent than the other episodes, and that's pretty much what took it to the TV-14. It wasn't anything sexual, but like the way they talked, the Twi'lek and the Mando talked was like they had a sexual relationship. Now, Mando has to work with this old friend of his, and they talk about how they used to run these things together. And like I said, they kind of reference that Mando used to be a different person. Eventually he stopped hanging around these guys, obviously, and joined the guild, but obviously that's not how it always was. And so he takes this job working with these people. Obviously, whatever happened, it's kind of hinted at the beginning that something bad happened to make him not work with them anymore, like make him not want to work with them anymore. But it's kind of almost set up like, oh, it's water under the bridge. Anyways, they have to do this job where they have to break out a prisoner, which is what the title of the chapter is about, like the prisoner. And they do this job, they have to break out this prisoner, and they can only do it with the Mandalorian ship, because the Mandalorian ship was built at a time. It's kind of like one of those things where, like, basically the ship was, like, nowadays, most ships at a certain date now, apparently after the fall of the Empire, is something like along the lines of the Mandalorian ship was built pre-Empire. So, like, most ships, like, something along the lines of most of the ships apparently have, like, something in them that allows the Republic to track it, so you can't sneak up on them. But the Mandalorian ship was built pre the Empire, so it doesn't have it, so they can actually pull this heist off without him tracking them. It's kind of like one of those things. It's kind of like the idea of like a smart car having a GPS tracking device in it, and you driving like a 1960 something, a 1960 something Dodge, and it's like, and it's like, oh, well, your car doesn't have that tracking device because it's an older car. That's kind of what the sense I got from it was, like they needed his ship, damn it, I always forget it's the Crest. I know it's the Crest. I always forget the name of the Mando ship, but they needed his ship to pull this off, and they used his ship. Obviously, there's some tension between Mando and all these other people, and many people have pointed out there's different level of scum on that ship. You got the Twi'lek they used to talk to is a bit nuts. She's kind of playing that nuts girl who's an assassin. That nuts girl plays with knives and can kill someone, or do something. It's hard to tell. We can go either way with this. And Bill Burr is kind of playing Bill Burr as a bounty hunter. He's just playing Bill Burr as a bounty hunter. He's kind of, he's got his snarky comments, and he's kind of a dick, but he's not like. And then you got Clancy Brown playing this. I can't remember the name of the race, but I've seen it before. Those big guys that like kind of are red and look like the devil because they got those huge horns. I know, like, if you're a Star Wars guy, you know what they are. I don't know the name of that race. But he's playing one of those, and he's kind of all macho and kind of just like, oh, you're a Mandalorian. Like, what the hell is that supposed to mean? Like, they all just like, and the thing is, they're all levels, except the Twi'lek, who knows who he is. The other two, Clancy Brown's character and Bill Burr's character are kind of trying to macho up to Mando because he's a Mandalorian, and Mandalorians have these amazing reputations, and like they make jabs about what does he look underneath his helmet, and oh, if Mandalorians are so badass, then why are they all dead, and like things of that nature. And so there is this tension on the ship. There's tension on the ship. Eventually Baby Yoda is discovered, and tensions rise up even higher on the ship. Baby Yoda's dropped, which I could honestly, when Baby Yoda got dropped, I could hear people just go, kill him. But anyway, getting into the actual mission, they get into the board the ship. You know, they're trying to play it like cool. They got this robot, by the way, who's can operate the ship at a weird level. So this robot named Zero. I actually remember the robot's name named Zero. So like it's a motley crew basically, and they get on the ship. Eventually, ship breaks down, and Mando has an amazing, great action sequence where he takes out all these droids in like badassery kind of way, and it's just brutal. And he just brutally takes out these droids. And eventually, like Mando was told that there was no one on the ship. Turns out there was someone on the ship. Anywho, and you know things break down. They eventually finally get around to saving the actual prisoner. Turns out that the prisoner they were coming there to save was not only someone who Mando hated, but also the prisoner they were going there to save was the very prisoner that Mando left, the very teammate that Mando left behind all those years ago when he left working with these people in the first place. Because it's kind of hinted throughout that Mando did something to piss off the Twilight girl, that their relationship was never the same after that, and that he felt like he did the right thing because that person he left behind was an asshole. And it turns out to be her brother that he left behind. And it turns out that those other mercs had other plans in store for Mando. Not only were they using Mando to do this job, but they were planning on leaving him. The moment he left that guy out of the prison, he pushed him inside one of the cells, locked it up, and was about to take off. But you know Mando, he ain't going down like that. Not only did he break his way out, but he proceeded to go complete Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees on their ass, with turning off the lights and having a red light blinking and them slowly walking and splitting them apart and taking them down one by one. There's an amazing sequence. I'm talking amazing sequence with Bill Burr's character is like going down a hallway, and it's kind of a scene out of Aliens, man. It really is. And you see like the strobe light in the background, just boop, 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 and you just see the Mando getting closer and closer. Every boop, 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 he's getting closer and closer, and Bill Burr turns around. He's not there. He's like, shit. Turns back around, gone. You don't know what happened. Turns out, minor spoilers, he didn't kill any of them, as it turns out. And it's really hinted that Mando's really trying to turn a new leaf. Because it's really heavily hinted that he used to just murder fools. We've seen him murder fools. So it's really hinted that he's like, if I don't have to kill you, I won't kill you. So that's what it seems like they're going for here. Needless to say, Mando hunts down the guy who he broke out. The guy who he broke out goes, look, you have a code. You took this job. You have to deliver me. Who cares about the other guys? You have to deliver me. And you're thinking maybe Mando's going to say, fuck the code and shoot this guy. But no, he brings him back as honored. And he gets paid as honored. But then, of course, his old friend goes, kill him. And they did this great thing. It's called the smoking gun. They did this great thing where near the beginning of the episode, when this one guard on the prison ship gets killed, he has this beacon thing. He has this like distress signal thing, and they're all kind of freaking out over it because they're saying 20 minutes these guys are going to be down here and destroy this entire station because that's what they're going to have the X-wings down here and destroy this whole station. And it goes off, and that's when they start picking up the pace a bit. And you forget about it because Mando picks it up. You forget about it. You see Mando pick it up, but you forget about it because you're just like, well, I mean, whatever. And near the very end, Mando leaves that sucker right on him and darts out of there, and the wings come in and take him out. And I was like, Mando does what Mando does. This was just a fun episode. Now, a lot of people are kind of upset that they... Like, the thing is, and I wanted to get into this just a little bit, is people are a bit upset that The Mandalorian doesn't work like normal, like shows we're accustomed to now. It works a lot more like, I don't know, like a show like a Supernatural or Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where this show has a through line, but it's in the background. It's really about the Mandalorian going on these adventures, these individual adventures that anyone can watch. There's not, like, and I noticed this around episode 4. No, 5 really. 4, I had this hunch. 5, it was official, and this just kind of solidifies it, is that this show really is individual episodes that happen to be connected. Like, it's because, like, you can watch each of these episodes without ever watching anything from The Mandalorian, and you would get every single thing that you already know. Everything that you already know, you would get everything in that one isolated episode. And I noticed that, like last week, I was like, you know everything you need to know about The Mandalorian. He's a badass. No one knows. He doesn't. He wears his. He's a badass. He's on the run. He's on the run from a guild. He stole Baby Yoda. Baby Yoda's adorable. And, like, all the things you need to know. Like, there's, like, each episode is literally so self-contained, yet there is a through line. But it's not like it's not like we're accustomed to a TV show being. We're accustomed to a TV show being a long movie or a big through line going right through the middle. It's all going this way. We're accustomed to that to the point where, like, and this is how TV used to be. And I've seen a bunch of people talk about this on the internet, so I'm going to concur with them on this as well, is that this is how TV used to be. It used to be weekly. It used to be episodic. It used to be contained, and then other things happen. And like I said, the only show I can think of that does it this way really well is Supernatural. How they work in the fact that they're hunters into them going off and doing their own cases, but they still are working on the through line case. And that's sort of what the Mandalorian's doing to a much lesser degree, because there's only 8 episodes. And that's the only problem I have, is that perhaps they needed more episodes to do what they want to do. But this was the longest episode. I believe it was about 40 minutes, which is the longest episode of The Mandalorian. And if they're gonna go this way, which I'm hoping that what they're gonna do is they're gonna make the last 2 episodes, or the last episode at the very least, the long, so that way they can kind of wrap all the bells and whistles up. But what I'm getting at is that we don't know if it's connected or not yet. And some people are saying, oh, this is filler, oh, this didn't matter. We don't know that yet. It's really hard to judge this show until you finally get the end result. It's really going to be hard to judge it. And if the end result wraps all these things up, it brings all these characters back, and all these things that happened that you didn't think mattered actually mattered, it's going to make it all look differently. So I'm excited for the next episode. The next episode is going to come out on Wednesday, by the way, people, because they didn't want it to come out on Friday because they want the all Star Wars attention to basically be on Rise of Skywalker. So they didn't want it to come out too close to Rise of Skywalker. So it's going to come out on Wednesday. So be prepared for that. So it's going to be a shorter swing this time. It comes out on Wednesday, so be prepared for that. But overall, I love this episode. I'm giving it a 10. I loved it. I loved it from top to bottom. The music, the score, the acting, the cameos. There's a cameo from Rick Famuyiwa and fucking Dave Filoni in it, Deborah Chow in it as freaking pilots. That was pretty funny. And I immediately knew who they were the moment I saw it. I was like, yo, that's Dave Filoni, ain't it? That's Dave Filoni, ain't it? It just went, huh. But yeah, I love this episode. Thank you for joining me on Comic Game Movie Show. Please remember to like, subscribe. How are you enjoying The Mandalorian? Do you wish it was more like normal shows, like a Game of Thronesy, or are you cool with this episodic nature of it? And it's kind of ironic that it makes it unique from any other show, is that it is episodic, yet people are angry about it and they want new things. I'm just pointing that out. Thank you for joining me on Comic Game Movie Show. I'll see you guys in the next one.